Calgary is situated on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations, the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nations and the City of Calgary, is also home to Métis Nation Region 3. We acknowledge, honor, and recognize these First Nations and original peoples as guardian stewards of the land since time immemorial.
Good morning. I am Barbara Grant, and I'm the Spiritual Health Practitioner at Wild Rose United Church. Welcome. This morning we are going to have a congregational meeting at 11 o'clock, and if you need to stop this service, that is a live stream, so you can always come back to it. We have a number of things on this week. This is the last week of our Bible study, and we also have a Tuesday morning coffee hour and a Thursday afternoon cocktail hour. And we also have our wonderful Wellness Wednesday, which includes a walk in the morning in one of our urban parks. And in the evening this week, we are going to actually have a video from Brian McLaren. The cosmic Christ has been with us as the light and energy since the beginning of all creation. Like the human Jesus, you are the light of the world. In your humanity, may the Holy Presence bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you too will have the light of life to do what others claim cannot be done.
We are gathered together in a community of faith. In this time, we remember that we are all part of the human family, beloved, called, sent out. Here we are intentional about bringing all our lives before God and joining with one another on this road of faith. We begin then by joining our voices in prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, who reached across the ethnic boundaries of Samaritan, Roman, and Jew, who offered fresh sight to the blind and freedom to captives, help us to break down the barriers in our community. Enable us to see the reality of racism and bigotry, and free us to challenge and uproot it from ourselves, our society, and our world.
The one thing that binds us all together is our interbeing. Not my words, the words of Thich Nhat Hanh. When we are able to encounter each other, human to human, we are interconnected. We have a unified consciousness. We have compassion for ourselves and for all living things in the Creator's world, that we might become the channel of peace and loving kindness to all forms of life. Yet, we have our challenges, our failures, our missteps, our foibles, our brokenness. These shortcomings also make us human. Together we can confess those ways in which we fail to live up to our Christian values. We ask for forgiveness and the capacity to learn from those mistakes in order to become the person God has created us to be. Take a moment of silence to confess those things that in your humanness you have done that have not shown love to your neighbor or yourself. As the Creator has forgiven you, so also must you forgive. Above all, wrap yourself in love and loving kindness towards all beings. Encounter each living thing with a sense of interbeing and mutual respect. Interbeing binds everything together in perfect harmony. Let peace flow like a stream from your heart. Amen.
Hi, I'm Mindy Woolcott. I'm with Storytelling Alberta. Hello, young people. Do you like stories? I love stories, and I've got one for you today. It's an Iroquois tale. It's a tale about bragging and teasing, but it's one that I think you'll enjoy. It's called How Chipmunk Got Her Stripes. One fine morning, in the time when animals could talk, Bear was very talkative. In fact, he enjoyed boasting about his strength and power. "There is no creature more powerful than me," said Bear to nobody in particular. And he set out to prove it. With his great claws and paws, he picked up a huge stone and he threw it so it was rumbling down the hillside. "I am powerful Bear," he said. And then a little voice popped up. "Is that true? Is that true? Is that true? Is that true?" it chattered, and that was Chipmunk. And she was going to challenge Bear with his great boast of being so strong. She said to him, "Bear, if you are so very strong, can you stop the sun from rising?" Well, Bear had to think about that. He'd never thought about that before. But then he said, "Of course I can. I'm Bear and I can do anything. I'm the strongest and most capable animal in this whole forest." And so, Chipmunk and Bear sat on a log facing east on that particular night. And as the deep purple turned to black and the stars began to shine, Bear shivered in the cold, but he was determined to stop that sun from rising, and so he chanted, "The sun will not rise. The sun will not rise. I, Bear, have said so. The sun will not rise. The sun will not rise. I, Bear, have said so." Chipmunk got cold, so she scattered off and went down into her warm, cozy nest in a hole in the ground as Bear sat through the night. Well, it didn't take long before Bear realized, when the rosy fingers of dawn filled the sky before the sun came up, that the sun was indeed going to come up. And so it did, in its full glory. And that's when little Chipmunk came out, and she began to taunt Bear. "Sun is stronger than Bear! Sun is stronger than Bear! Hee hee hee!" she said, and Bear grew very embarrassed and then very angry. And then Chipmunk began to run around Bear in circles. "The sun came out! The sun came out! Bear said it wouldn't, but the sun came out! The sun came out! The sun came out! Bear said it wouldn't, but the sun came out!" And in an instant, a flash of an eye, Bear put his large paw with his claws, pinning down Chipmunk. "It is true the sun rose, but you, Chipmunk, will never see another sunrise. Make way, you're going to climb the sky road." "Oh, said Chipmunk. "Bear, Bear, you are the strongest, the bravest. Creator has made you kind also. I know I'm going to meet my Creator, but can I please say my prayer before you kill me?" Well, Bear wasn't really a horribly mean creature. He thought about it for a moment, and he said, "All right, but make it quick." And then Chipmunk said, "But Bear, Bear, I can't even breathe. I can't say my prayer to Creator unless you lift up a claw to let me just breathe. I'll be quick." And so with that, Bear lifted up one of his claws, and Chipmunk, as fast as a bolt of lightning, escaped and ran right down her hole into her safe nest. But before she got down the hole, Bear took his great paw and he swiped at her. And his claws, the three of them, left 3 marks on Chipmunk's back, which turned into tan-colored scars. And those scars remind all chipmunks of all the generations just how unwise it is to tease someone who is larger and stronger than you.
Scripture reading comes from Matthew 7, verses 1 to 5. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. In the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will measure you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, "Let me take the speck out of your eye," when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will clearly see to remove the speck from your brother's eye. The second reading today is from the Golden Rule, Matthew 7, verses 12 to 14. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law of the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it.
So, traditionally, this Sunday, we always have a huge Stampede breakfast, and people from this community come and enjoy themselves. We know that you're living in this community, and you are in fact one of the partners of the Wellness Hub. So we invited you to tell us a little bit about the work that you do in community and to share with us where you're at. And you brought along a friend.
I did, yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I've been hanging out with some aliens from the planet Zan. They're called the ZaynKnees.
I see.
And one of them has come to say hi today. And this is one of the Moira sisters. They don't speak English, so they transmute what they want to say through my brain by whispering into my ear. I'm a ZaynKnees whisperer. But yeah, they're here, and they've been hanging out in the community because of COVID. They know that I'm very involved in the neighborhood, and that I participate in stuff in the community. So I've been hanging out with these folks this past 4 months.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you actually positioned yourself right within the church to do some of your work.
I did, yeah. So I won't tell them, we'll cover their ears, but I had to build these puppets. And so these are some of the smaller puppets that I built, but I had quite a larger puppet that was 10 feet tall. That is called Bork.
And we're going to see Bork in your film.
You're going to see Bork in the film, yeah. And Bork is quite tall and very wide, and so I needed some space to paper mache his face, or their face. And yeah, so that I live in the neighborhood. I've done quite a bit of work in sort of community activation and arts and cultural projects. And I needed a space to build this very large puppet, and Wild Rose United Church is literally down the street from me, so I thought, let's check out them, because nobody's probably renting during COVID.
Do you see this relationship moving forward between you and Wild Rose and the Wellness Hub?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think arts and culture is a great neutralizer. Arts is a great neutralizer. I think we've well, and specifically puppets are a great neutralizer. I think that art, especially in a city like Calgary that is quite corporate, has got a lot of corporate sponsorship, had quite a bit of corporate sponsorship in the arts. I think we've been trained to think that arts and culture are something that those artists do over there, as somewhere else. But in fact, I think that art is everywhere around us. I mean, even as we're sitting here in this church, I mean, you can count how many pieces of art. I mean, the stained glass windows are like really stand out. And so, someone once told me, you walk around the world, and you see 500,000 pieces of art a day. Everything is designed. The chairs that you're sitting on, the clothes you're wearing, everything has to be designed by somebody, some creative somewhere. And so it's that accumulation of art and people's relationship to that art that build culture. And so what my whole art practice for the past 10 years is, and 20 years as a working artist, but 10 years specifically have been around engaging people around art making to fix issues that we have in the world. Looking at engagement and art as a way to sort of solve problems and to progress social change, meaningful social change, based on those people that I'm working with. Not me coming and dictating social change, but asking them, what is that change you want to see? How do you use art to impact that? And then sometimes I do some interventions like this with myself, right? So I'll build some art projects that are, the ZaynKnees specifically are around trying to build community empathy. It was in response to some not so nice racial things that I was seeing on social media, in specifically the community's Facebook page that are run for and by and run by residents. So nothing to do with the community association. It was a social media channel specifically made by the community, and there's some not so nice things that were being said.
So on that note, why don't we take a look at your film?
Sure.
And people can understand what you're trying to do in terms of your aliens.
Perfect.
Great.
Are you ready to see the film? Yeah. Hey everybody. Some strange things have been happening in my community. A few weeks ago there were some posts going up on our Facebook page about some suspicious activity happening in our neighborhood. People were seeing these sightings of strangers that don't belong in our neighborhood. Like, what are these people doing in our neighborhood, and are they actually doing anything bad? So grabbed my camera and grabbed a friend and we head out. Hey man!
How's it going?
Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah?
You do?
Yeah, of course.
You ever seen aliens?
The movie? Or like seeing aliens in person? Not in person, no.
Like, there's some weird stuff happening
Okay.
in this block area here. Like, some people have been telling me that they see aliens on this street.
Really?
Yeah.
Like around here?
You want to go on an adventure?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I've never actually seen aliens.
But you believe in it, right?
I mean, I don't believe that we're the only ones in this universe. Here's where they say that they've seen the aliens. It's on this street here. Do we see anything around here that maybe is like evidence? I don't know. So we went around the neighborhood and just asked anybody if they had seen any sort of suspicious behavior.
Aliens. I mean, I haven't seen them personally, but you know, like in my culture, I'm Plains Cree from Saskatchewan, so like in our culture, we believe in little people, and I just think that for me, little people are aliens.
Have you seen any aliens around here?
Yeah, I saw on my front lawn a little while ago. They were sitting there. I got footage on my doorbell.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Can we grab that footage from you?
absolutely.
Like, I really think that we need to do something about that whole thing.
Yeah,
What is this guy?
do you see that?
What is going on?
Jeez, what? All right, let's get out of here.
Aliens. Aliens? Where are they, though? I can't see any of them. There's...
Wait, Kevin. What's that?
What the? Whoa!
Hello, humans and other species of the planet Earth.
We're following them.
We are the ZaynKnees from the planet Zan. We were visiting your beautiful city of Calgary 2 months ago when we found ourselves suddenly trapped on Earth because of COVID-19. We couldn't leave Earth because of quarantine and travel bans, so we planted ourselves in your community. For a while, we hid from humans because when they would see us, they would yell at us for looking different or suspicious. But all we needed was a place to stay during quarantine. We were laughed at, made fun of. People thought we were criminals and called the police on us. It wasn't a nice welcome. However, after some of your neighbors stopped to say hi and get to know us, they took us into their home, gave us a place to rest our alien minds and get some food. We are so thankful to those neighbors who opened their doors to us. We want to thank your community for being so welcoming. Love one another and take care of the earth. With all our love and appreciation, the ZaynKnees from the planet Zan.
Well, we found them.
Found the aliens.
And it's like the community just embraced them or something.
I don't understand it. They haven't harmed anybody.
So because they look different.
I'm glad they're here now.
Totally. ZaynKnees, we welcome you.
We welcome you.
So, after I met the ZaynKnees, and I realized that they weren't suspicious at all. They just needed love, a shelter, food, just like all of us during COVID. So I invited them back to my place, and they eventually stayed with me, and we've been living together for a while, waiting for this COVID restrictions to pass. Here's to the community I live in, and for welcoming these strangers into our hood. Thanks, ZaynKnees, for coming into my life.
So, yeah. If you
We're gonna put you away, all right? Did you like that video? Yeah. So we'll just say bye to Maura. Bye, Maura.
Bye, Maura. So can you just comment a little on that deeper part that you were talking about in terms of that sense of racism that you were experiencing not only in the community that you live, but in the city you live and in the country you live.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to acknowledge that I'm also doing a lot of work these days to sort of understand racism. You know, I don't, it's a very complex subject. I come at oppression from being a queer man. My family was immigrated from Portugal. We were settlers here on Treaty 7 land. I grew up in Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton. And, you know, so understanding my relationship to other people is really important and vital so that we can understand each other. And so oftentimes I think I think that, you know, whether you're a female, you're a person of color, you're a member of the LGBT community, you're in a wheelchair, or you have any other sort of oppressive factor that's not mainstream or normative, I think Calgary can be really tough. I think Calgary can be really, really difficult, and it's made for, you know, a specific type of human, and even though there's a whole lot of other types of humans, we just don't create that space for
So
them.
your fun interactive video has a deeper message. You talked to me one day about reconstruction. Can you explain to me how your art is a form of reconstruction?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that at least through the art we can. It's easy. Sometimes people need the abstract to be able to feel something. You know, I think that if we are too direct at something, sometimes it can be, people are backed into a corner and get defensive. And you know, I think that when you can get through art, you're able to tap into minds and hearts, and you're tap into feelings. And feelings are ephemeral and non-specific. They can be very complex. And I think that art has that ability to tap into that. And so when I see something, I can feel it and have an opinion, have something come up in me, you know?
So your art is a form of social justice.
Absolutely.
You're out there
Yeah.
presenting yourself, and you're presenting these deep feelings, some of which you've experienced yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, again, I don't expect it, I'm not dictating what that's supposed to be, but I think it creates a space for that work. The work, I personally, this is my philosophy in art, is that art is relational. It's not an object. It's not something you consume. Art is relational. It's about me having a relationship with something I see on the wall, or a relationship I'm having with you as I'm building art together with you. So it's not about, there's a relationship between me and that artist or me and the people I'm making art with, right? The byproduct is an art piece, you know. So if you have opinions about the blue ring, great. That's the impact, you know. Like, that's what you're supposed to have. Not every art you're supposed to like, but you're supposed to have at least an opinion. The way artists position themselves with their audience, and this comes from my theater background. It came up through, like, I'm here to entertain you, and now it's turned to I'm here to be with you and work with you to make the work, you know. And even that shift has deconstructed what I think about art, how I think about art. I think that artists play a very vital role right now, especially during COVID. We saw right at the beginning specifically that artists were keeping the world happy and hopeful. And we saw artists all over the world playing on their balconies and like sharing videos online and I mean, unfortunately, what happened there was that artists had to do work for free. And that's the beautiful part, is that when the world collapses, artists will still be there, because no matter what, we don't do it for the money, we do it
For the passion.
we do it for the money because we need to survive, because the capitalist system makes us have to make money, you know. But when I think about well-being, nothing will stop me from making art. Like, it's not going to end, you know. And so I think that artists demonstrated that, you know, like when it comes to resource-based economy, on any resource you're thinking about, the moment that one industry stops, it's going to impact everything and it'll all start to shut down in some ways. I think that art doesn't do that. Art is going to keep going.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, how to pay the artists is the question, and how to make sure that the artists can to value arts enough that to see that it gives people hope. It impacts well-being. I think that's what we need to shift in the world in terms of thinking. But in terms of innovation, it's not going to start with a CEO of some major company. The innovation is going to come from the people with the lived experience, with the user experience right at the bottom, or the artists, the creatives, that are going to come up with some innovative ways to approach things. And
well, that's a nice segue into our theme for this morning, which was all our relations, and the fact that we are interbeings, that we are all part of the connectedness of oneness in the universe. So thank you for your contribution. You are indeed a wonderful artist, and we have enjoyed your film. And it was so great for us to see our own neighborhood featured, and some of the faces of the friends that we know in the neighborhood.
Well, I want to thank Wild Rose United Church for giving me some space here, and I think Wild Rose has always been a major beacon of community within the larger community. So and to know that. I mean, I personally am a gay man, grew up in a Portuguese Catholic church, and that was not a space that was welcoming, that didn't show me that I could belong, and so I think that, United Churches have for years done the work to sort of make inclusive spaces, and although I can walk into I don't have to be dogmatic in how I approach religion or have a relationship with the building. I can at least demonstrate, I can be part of the building and feel like there's a community without having to be, to sort of consume the way of being in terms of dogma, in terms of faith,
And I think that's the nature of our Wellness Hub, that it's so much more than just being in church on Sunday.
Right.
It's a 24/7 place where people in community can begin to congregate. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
So this is National Indigenous Month, and last week we had a wonderful Indigenous ceremony entitled All My Relations. This is entitled All My Relations Part 2. This message is adapted from June 4th presentation by Spiritual Directors International. At RUC we know that all lives matter. The film we just watched with Kevin is a creative attempt to address dual thinking and how it can divide us. This is an us versus them scenario, whether alien, indigenous, African American, immigrant, Muslim, Jew, or LGBTQ two-spirited. At Wild Rose we know that all lives matter and all living things matter. Our message is one of non-dual thinking. It is for a unitive consciousness. The events beginning with the horrifying killing of George Floyd on the streets of Minneapolis, and now encompassing peaceful protests and violent riots around the world, have shocked us all. We want to extend our heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of George Floyd and all those who have been killed or injured in the last weeks of protest. We value that many of these protesting have been harmed by the devastating effects of COVID-19, from elder care to social and economic inequality, domestic violence, colonialism, and racism. These realities have been made known to us. We also want to take this occasion to reflect on the systemic racism and oppression that continues to plague all nations, and here in Alberta and Canada, which have led to countless instances of murder, deep injustices, and continual violence in all of its physical and emotional and spiritual manifestations. The dying words of George Floyd, "I can't breathe," challenge us all to be agents of change, that we may institute the much-needed reforms that all people, all forms of life may breathe and live freely. We are asked to deconstruct the old and create the new. We express solidarity with all those who are suffering now from alienation, grief, heartbreak, abuses to dignity, violence, hatred, purposely created divisions. We can only imagine your pain. We experience the systemic devaluation of your humanness. We seek to have a human encounter with you, a sacred place of deep listening. We have seen the problems of systemic racism, and in our interbeing, we want to reach out and connect with you. We do not pretend to have solutions, but in order to find solutions, we are willing to encounter all humans with mutual respect and love. Human to human, we make our amends and comprehend that in the loving words of Thich Nhat Hanh, interbeing removes all prejudice. Let it be said that at Wild Rose United Church, we honor everyone's dignity, and we welcome people of races, genders, gender identities, social economic statuses, religious or spiritual beliefs, sexual orientations, political affiliations, and all markers of our diversity. We condemn racism, we condemn violence, and we stand for strong principles. And as needed right now, a clear, compassionate, and resonant response from our leaders and our communities to the outrageousness we see around us. As a spiritual companion, I do the work of deep listening. I believe that this work can make the difference. I bear witness through sacred listening. As such, I call on our community of faith and all individuals to bear witness compassionately to what is happening, to seek understanding, and to take such action as seems appropriate in line with the universal spiritual practices of wisdom, compassion, and equality for all. Because spiritual companions use deep listening to help others raise their self-awareness, we call on all people to lead in their communities by listening to all those affected by these issues, from all sides, non-judgmentally. Such listening offers the foundation for responsive leadership that we have been sorely lacking. Listening is not a passive response to this crisis we now face. It is rather an urgent and a very necessary action, and one of the most potent tools at our disposal to begin a process of remediation, reconciliation, change, and healing. It can provide the wisdom and understanding to see a way forward through taking action that may rectify rather than intensify the divisions in our society. We can work together actively with renewed hope, commitment, and compassion to create a better way to support the freedom and well-being of all people. Human to human with mutual respect and positive regard, together we can make a difference in the world. Gloria Snow last week reminded us to be awakened and to be aware of all our relations. Everything is relational. We are all interconnected in our interbeing. Let us bow our heads and pray the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father and Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Please consider a donation to Wild Rose United Church during this time of COVID-19 to help us continue our ministry to those around us. Mail a check to Wild Rose United at 1317 First Street Northwest, Calgary, Alberta, T2M 2S5, or send an e-transfer to finance@wildroseunited.ca, or visit our website to access to access links to PayPal or Canada Helps. May the Creator bless you with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may live deeply within your heart. May the Beloved bless you with anger and injustice, oppression and exploitation of people, so that you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer poverty, racism, rejection, starvation, and oppression, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and to listen with compassion and empathy to their pain. May God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done. Amen.